As many of you know, Jim Farrell, teacher, athletic director, advisor, and coach, is my father. He has been a part of Episcopal since his freshman year in high school. During his time as a student, he won 3 Interact titles and was all-league in football, basketball, and baseball. But he was not only drawn to the school for its athletic programs, but for his strong religious and academic values. My father was part of a very close family growing up. He is especially close with his brother, Mark, who was a year behind him at Episcopal. 3 years ago, our family was changed forever when we found out that Mark's son, Mark Jr., had been diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 7. After hearing this, my father was devastated, but quickly rallied to help his brother and nephew. I've never seen anyone take that kind of news to heart like my father did. He spent countless hours at his brother and nephew's side in the hospital as Mark spent his first couple months, including his 8th birthday, in treatment at the hospital. My dad also joined the Leukemia Society team in training to compete in a triathlon and started a campaign which would raise money supporting those battling leukemia. His campaign was called Mark Madness and raised the most money out of any team in the entire country for the foundation. While over the last 3 years, Mark has been a true hero for my family, I also believe that my dad has and always will be my hero. So please stand to greet my father, Jim Farrell.
Please be seated. A few weeks before our spring break, Mr. Farrell and I decided that we would do today's chapel address together, as it is the chapel before Passover and Holy Week. We know the story of Passover and the Jewish people's release from the bondage of Egypt. We all know the story of Holy Week. Jesus makes a triumphant entry into Jerusalem with people waving palm branches. He celebrates the Last Supper, from which our Eucharist is derived on Thursday. He is crucified on Friday, and 3 days later, he is resurrected on Easter. For some in Christianity, that is all that it is, a story with no real connection to our lives. Today, Mr. Farrell and I hope that you will see that Holy Week is much more than just a story, but also an important part of the Christian life. Holy Week is something that we need to feel so that we never forget how Jesus walks with us day in and day out. I want you to think of your family's scrapbook or photo album. Most of us have scrapbooks which contain pictures of important moments or programs or messages from important events. When you took your first step, when you had your first meal, going off to the first day of school, or for the senior class, those pictures that you have selected perhaps to be put on your yearbook page. Our lives are filled with snapshots and important moments that we could put in our scrapbook because they capture some very, very strong feelings. I want us also to remember the important words of Mr. Coutet several weeks ago in his chapel address when he said, "I have learned that people forget what you said. People forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel." When I visited Israel last summer, I went to all the places that tell the Holy Week story. They literally became part of a scrapbook in today's version of that, which means over 1,000 pictures taken on the trip. I stood where Jesus entered Jerusalem, where he ate the Last Supper, where he was crucified, and where he was resurrected. I walked the Via Dolorosa, the Way of Sorrows, which is the route that he traveled from jail to the cross. I remember each place as though I were just there, because I was not prepared for, as Mr. Coutet put it, how each place would make me feel. Literally moved to tears in some, aware of Jesus' resilience in others, and felt the joy of the resurrection and what that could mean. I prayed in various places for a number of you and for our school as a whole. These prayers felt much more important to me, for I could put a human face on them as I stood in each sacred place. Mr. Farrell is now going to tell you another kind of Holy Week story. Listen. Listen for the feelings. Listen for the courage. Listen for the importance of support and care from others. Listen for the pain and the hardship. And listen for the power of faith and prayer. Listen for faith, hope, and love. And listen for the triumph of the resurrection moment. And pay attention to the people and places in your life that capture those same feelings for you. What, and more importantly, who is in your scrapbook of faith, hope, and love? Mr. Farrell.
Thanks, Jay, for your introduction, and thanks, Robin, for making that prayer list poster back there. In the fall of 2007, my nephew, Mark Farrell Jr., was not feeling well. All he felt like doing was sitting around on the couch. Mark was a very active 7-year-old, so this behavior was very out of character for him. Week after week, he got more lethargic. My brother and sister-in-law took him to a few doctors, but nothing was discovered until late December. Mark was diagnosed with ALL, as Jay has said. I come from a very close family, and our world was turned upside down. Once the initial shock wore off, the focus became what needs to be done to get Mark Jr. better. This type of leukemia has a high cure rate, but the treatment schedule is brutal. Mark has taken between 7,500 and 8,000 chemo pills over the last 3.5 years. Once every 4 weeks, he would receive a very difficult treatment. As a result, he would have flu-like symptoms from the medicine for many days after the treatment. There have been many side effects along the way that have caused different reactions for Mark Jr. I am sure he cannot remember what it feels like to be normal. He unfortunately has felt sick for much of the last 3.5 years. Few of you know my brother Mark. He's a very tough and determined individual. Just give me a second here. He was an all-city athlete in both football and baseball at Episcopal in the early 80s. Thankfully, Mark Jr. was blessed with his father's toughness because he needed it to get through these difficult times. I have never seen my nephew complain, not once. I'm sure my brother could tell me a few stories about little Marky in some difficult times, but I've never seen him make one excuse over these 3.5 years. They say that God gives tough situations to those that can handle them, and I'm not sure if that's true, but I know that God gave this type of cancer to a kid that could handle it. Day after day, and week after week, and month after month, and year after year, this kid handled the adversity and persevered. He is a real-life hero. He's taught me to not complain about the little things in life. He's taught me about resilience and about having a positive outlook in life, no matter what the circumstances are. I know that part of his childhood has been taken away, but I also know that he will be a stronger person for persevering through this cancer. As Elise said a few weeks ago, we are so lucky to be at a school where we go to chapel every other day. Faith is extremely important to us at Episcopal. We don't just say it, but we live it by spending 2 to 3 times a week here as a community in this chapel. We are very lucky to have a person like Reverend Squire who cares so much for all of us. He has asked me 100 times how my nephew's doing. And he does this because he genuinely cares. I want to thank Reverend Squire and everyone in here for praying for my nephew over these past 3.5 years. He has been on the prayer list since the day he was diagnosed with the illness. I strongly believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that God listens to our prayers. I have become much more conscious of the prayer list over these 3.5 years. In the past, I would have much more of a tendency to not pay attention to the names on the list, and I would daydream through that part of chapel. I tend to now look forward to the prayer list. I cannot wait to hear my nephew's name and the others on the list, and I pray for their well-being. Chapel and Catholic Mass, for that matter, can be very rote at times. My mind still wanders, but this experience has taught me to bring prayer into some other times of my life. I may pray for others now when I run or before bed, or maybe when I'm sitting at my desk. I'll think of my nephew at these different times of the day, and I will say a prayer for him. Prayer has become more a part of my everyday life. I watched him through his trials, and I'm in awe of his conquering his cancer. His experience has made me so thankful for all that I have and taught me that I have a responsibility to pray for those in need. It has taught me to think beyond myself on a more regular basis and try to make others' lives a little better through prayer. Our lives move at a very frenetic pace. It is as if we have jumped on a treadmill and we just can't get off. And as in Mark Jr.'s situation, at times we are presented with hurdles that we must jump over while on this treadmill. These hurdles force us to slow down and look at our lives and see what is truly important. Our family is closer than ever because of Mark Jr.'s illness. We have rallied together and spent more quality time together as a family. Cousins and siblings have spent more time with Mark Jr. over these last 3.5 years in hope of making this time a bit easier on him. The time has come for Mark Jr. to come off of the prayer list. but we must remember this time and never forget it. We must take this time and put it in our scrapbook. We must respect the past and learn from it. When we look back at our scrapbook, we will remember the tough times of these past 3.5 years, but we will also be able to see the value in the difficult time. We must continue to pray, not just in church or in chapel, but in our daily lives. We must continue to grow stronger as a family and spend more quality time together. And like Mark Jr., we must learn to persevere through the difficult hurdles in our lives. Mark's last chemo set of pills will be taken tomorrow. His cancer treatment will be complete, and he will go back to being a normal kid. At this time, I'm going to take these two chapel talks, a copy of Reverend Squire's and mine. I'm going to put it in my scrapbook. And this is this prayer list that Robin made for me, poster board. And I'm going to take his name off the prayer list now. Officially off. This is a very, very happy time for my family, and I thank everyone in here for helping with their prayers. Thank you.